The massive space station hung in the void like a silver jewel. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its many ports. Inside the great council chamber, beings from dozens of worlds gathered for an important meeting. Today they would decide if humans could join their peaceful community. Ambassador Kate Morgan walked through the long hallways with her team. Her boots clicked on the metal floor as she looked around at the strange aliens. Some floated in water tanks. Others looked like giant insects with many arms. The most beautiful ones glowed with soft light and moved like dancers. "Remember," she whispered to Commander Ryan Blake, "we need to show them we're peaceful people." Ryan nodded but kept his hand near his weapon. Old habits from his military days never died. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth before becoming a diplomat. The scars on his face told stories he never shared. In the council chamber, hundreds of alien eyes watched as Kate stepped forward. The room was huge, with seats arranged in circles that went up to the ceiling. Strange music played softly, and the air smelled like flowers from a dozen different worlds. High Counselor Vexani spoke first. Her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Humans of Earth, we have studied your species for many cycles. You are unusual." The Etherans were tall and thin with skin that changed colors like rainbows. They lived for thousands of years and thought slowly about everything. To them, humans seemed to rush through life like children. Hive speaker Zixkol clicked his mandibles together. The sound echoed in the chamber like castanets. "Your kind fights among themselves. This is difficult to understand." The Kithara were insect-like creatures who worked as one mind. They had never known war because they never disagreed. When one thought something, they all thought it. The idea of humans fighting each other made no sense to them. Kate cleared her throat. "Honorable council members, it's true that humans have had conflicts in the past. But we've learned from our mistakes. We come to you in peace, hoping to learn from your wisdom." Captain Alex Turner stood up from his seat. He commanded the exploration ship UES Horizon, the first human vessel to travel faster than light. "We've brought gifts from our world. Art, music, and literature that shows the beauty of human culture." The council members whispered among themselves in dozens of languages. Some sounded like birds singing. Others were clicks and whistles. The water-dwelling depths one spoke in bubbles that somehow made words. Ambassador Zelthar of the Vrex Confederacy raised a clawed hand. His people looked like lizards but walked upright and wore fancy robes. "We have seen your history, humans. So much violence. So much death. Your species has fought wars for thousands of years." Kate felt her heart sink. She knew this would be the hardest part. "Yes, we have fought wars. But we've also created beautiful things. We've helped each other in times of trouble. We've learned to work together." "Your wars," Vexani said softly. "They are unlike anything we know. You use weapons to kill your own kind. You destroy your own cities. You make other humans suffer." "Why?" Ryan stepped forward. His soldier's training told him to stand straight and speak clearly. "War is not something we choose lightly. Sometimes bad people hurt innocent families. Sometimes tyrants oppress the weak. We fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The crystalline resonance hummed together, making a sound like a church choir. They communicated through music and vibrations. Their harmony was beautiful but somehow sad. "Your concept of evil is also strange," Zixkol clicked. "In our hive, all work for the good of all. There is no selfishness, no greed, no hate." Kate nodded. "We know we're not perfect. But that's why we want to join your community. We want to learn from you. We want to become better." The debate went on for hours. The aliens discussed human nature like scientists studying a new species. They talked about human emotions, human creativity, and human unpredictability. Some were fascinated. Others were worried. Dr. Kevin Park, Earth's top scientist, showed them human technology. "We may be young compared to your civilizations, but we learn quickly. We adapt. We solve problems in new ways." The Etherans were impressed by human engineering. Where they built things to last forever, humans built things to work right now and fix them later. It was messy but surprisingly effective. Finally, High Counselor Vexani called for a vote. The chamber fell silent except for the soft music that never stopped playing. One by one, each species cast their decision. Green lights meant yes. Red lights meant no. Yellow lights meant maybe later. Kate held her breath as the lights appeared around the chamber. Green, yellow, green, red, yellow. The pattern seemed random, But slowly more green lights appeared than red ones. The council has decided, Vexani announced. Humans will be granted provisional membership in the galactic community. You will be assigned territory in the Outer Rim sectors. Your expansion will be limited until you prove your commitment to peace. Kate smiled and bowed deeply. Thank you, honored council. We won't disappoint you. But as the humans left the chamber, many aliens still looked worried. Ambassador Zelthar spoke quietly to his aide. I hope we have made the right choice. There is something about these humans, something dangerous beneath their polite words. His aide nodded. They smile, but their eyes are always watching, always calculating. It reminds me of hunters from my homeworld. The depths dwellers said nothing, but they dove deeper into their tanks. In their ancient culture, silence meant deep concern. The resonance harmony became minor key, a sound that spoke of coming storms. Kate and her team walked back to their ship, unaware of the worried whispers behind them. They were happy to be accepted, even with limits. They had a home among the stars now. Ryan looked back at the station as their ship pulled away. His soldier's instincts were tingling, but he couldn't say why. Ma'am, do you think they really trust us? Kate stared out at the stars. Trust is earned, Commander. We'll show them what humans can do when we put our minds to something. Neither of them knew that in 3 years, the galaxy would need humanity's dangerous nature more than they could ever imagine. The peaceful civilizations that looked down on human violence would soon beg for it. The cosmos held its breath, unaware that darkness was moving between the stars, heading toward the light of a billion peaceful worlds. 3 years had passed since humans joined the galactic community. They worked hard on their assigned worlds in the Outer Rim, mining valuable crystals and building new colonies. Most aliens had forgotten about the strange, violent species from the small blue world. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, watching cargo ships move between Earth and the outer colonies. She had been a fighter pilot before becoming an admiral. Her dark hair was now streaked with gray from years of commanding humanity's small but growing space fleet. The peaceful routine was broken by a harsh alarm. Lieutenant Jenny Walsh ran to her station with wide eyes. Admiral, we're receiving emergency signals from the Galactic Communication Network. Multiple systems are going dark. Lisa frowned. Define going dark, Lieutenant. Complete communication blackout, ma'am. No response to any signals. It started in the resonant home system 3 hours ago. On the main screen, a map of the galaxy showed thousands of green dots representing inhabited systems. As Lisa watched, several dots turned red, then disappeared completely. The pattern was moving inward from the galaxy's edge like a wave of darkness. Captain Alex Turner's voice crackled over the communication system from his exploration ship. Admiral, you need to see this. I'm transmitting sensor data from the edge of resonant space. The main screen changed to show what Alex had recorded. Where 3 beautiful crystal worlds had orbited their star just days ago, there was nothing but glowing debris. The planets had been completely destroyed, turned into molten rock and vapor. My God, whispered Dr. Kevin Park from his science station. What kind of weapon could do this? Before anyone could answer, more alarms sounded. Commander Ryan Blake's voice came from the communication center on Earth. All ships were receiving a priority message from the Galactic Council. Patching it through now. High Counselor Vexani appeared on the screen, but she looked nothing like the calm, graceful being they remembered. Her rainbow skin flickered with dark colors and her voice shook with fear. To all member species, we are under attack by unknown forces. They appeared without warning and have destroyed 17 systems in the past 6 hours. Behind her, the council chamber was chaos. Aliens ran in panic while others huddled in groups, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of fear. Clicks, chirps, bubbles, and harmonies all blended into a sound of pure terror. The attackers ignore all diplomatic signals, Vexani continued. They do not respond to offers of surrender, trade, or negotiation. They simply destroy everything. We are mobilizing all available defense fleets, but her image flickered and died. President John Adams called an emergency meeting in the White House Situation Room. The most important humans on Earth gathered around a long table covered with star charts and tactical displays. General Patricia Hayes spread her hands on the table and looked at the data. She was a tough woman who had commanded ground forces in several Earth conflicts. The attack pattern is systematic. They're not just destroying random targets, they're eliminating the most advanced civilizations first. Dr. Kevin Park pulled up holographic displays of the destroyed systems. Look at this. The Resonance had the most advanced crystal technology in the galaxy. The Vrex had the best energy shields. The Nautilus Collective had the strongest gravitational weapons. It's like someone is removing the biggest threats first. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez joined the meeting via video link from her flagship. Our deep space sensors are picking up massive energy signatures moving through hyperspace. Whatever these things are, they're huge, bigger than anything we've ever seen. What about the Galactic Defense Force? Asked President Adams. General Hayes shook her head. 3 task forces have engaged the enemy, all destroyed within minutes. The few escape pods that made it out reported that their most advanced weapons had no effect at all. Colonel Jake Sullivan, a Special Forces veteran, studied the tactical displays. Sir, we need to send a reconnaissance mission. We can't fight what we don't understand. President Adams nodded. Make it happen, Colonel. Take your best people and find out what we're dealing with. While Earth prepared its response, the attacks continued. The elegant Ethran homeworld, with its floating cities and thousand-year-old gardens, was reduced to ash in minutes. The insectoid Cathera fought as one mind, coordinating billions of soldiers, but their unity couldn't save them from weapons that tore apart space itself. The water worlds of the depths dwellers boiled away under energy beams that heated entire oceans. Their ancient songs, which had echoed through deep trenches for millions of years, fell silent forever. Ambassador Zelthar evacuated his people from their capital world just hours before it was destroyed. His ship, carrying the last of the Vrex government, limped toward the galactic core where defenses were supposed to be strongest. How many? He asked his aide, though he dreaded the answer. 43 systems confirmed destroyed, sir. Estimated casualties in the hundreds of billions. Zelthar closed his reptilian eyes. In 3 days, these attackers had killed more beings than had died in the entire recorded history of the galaxy. War, as the aliens understood it, was about territory or resources. This was something else entirely. Colonel Sullivan's reconnaissance mission launched from a hidden base in the Outer Rim. His team consisted of the best human soldiers and scientists, equipped with the most advanced stealth technology Earth could build. Their ship, the UES Phantom, was small and fast. It could hide from most sensors and run from anything it couldn't hide from. Sullivan had personally selected every crew member for their ability to stay calm under pressure. Remember, he told his team as they approached the battle zone, we're not here to fight. We're here to observe and learn. If we get caught, no one can help us. Lieutenant Peter Gray, the ship's pilot, was known for getting into impossible places and getting out alive. Don't worry, Colonel. If there's a way through, I'll find it. Dr. Susan Mitchell, the team's scientist, calibrated her sensors for maximum passive detection. I've never seen energy readings like this. It's like they're using the fundamental forces of physics as weapons. The Phantom reached the edge of what had once been resonant space. Where beautiful crystal worlds had sung in harmony, there was only debris and radiation, but among the wreckage they found something that made their blood run cold. Massive ships, each one larger than Earth's moon, moved through the debris like giant predators. Their hulls were a mixture of metal and something that looked almost biological. They weren't just destroying the remains of the crystal worlds, they were harvesting them. Are you recording this? Sullivan whispered to Dr. Mitchell. Every second, she replied, her voice tight with fear. Colonel, those ships, they're taking the raw materials and turning them into more ships. They're growing their fleet using the remains of their victims. As they watched in horrified fascination, the alien harvesters began moving toward their next target. The pattern was becoming clear. These weren't conquerors seeking territory or resources. They were exterminators, removing all life from the galaxy and using the remains to make themselves stronger. The Phantom's communication system crackled to life with a transmission from Earth. President Adams's voice was grim. Colonel, we're receiving surrender offers from the remaining galactic governments. They want to turn over all military command to the species with the most combat experience. Sullivan looked at his team, seeing the same realization in their eyes that he felt in his heart. The peaceful aliens were turning to humanity, not because they respected them, but because they were desperate. They needed the one species in the galaxy that truly understood war. Acknowledged, Mr. President, Sullivan replied. We're gathering intelligence on the enemy now. But, sir, I think we're going to need more than experience. We're going to need everything humanity has ever learned about fighting and killing. As the Phantom began its journey back to human space, carrying data that would change everything. The galaxy continued to burn. Peaceful civilizations that had never known violence were learning what it meant to face an enemy that could not be reasoned with. The darkness between the stars was no longer empty. It was full of predators, and they were coming for everyone. The emergency meeting room in the Pentagon had never seen anything like this. Holographic displays showed the galaxy burning as red dots marked each destroyed system. The pattern was clear and terrifying. The HFY, as they had started calling the invaders, were moving steadily toward the galactic core where most of the advanced civilizations lived. General Patricia Hayes stood at the center of the room, surrounded by Earth's top military minds. Her weathered face showed no emotion, but her eyes burned with the intensity that had made her famous in the Martian conflicts. "Gentlemen, ladies," she began, her voice cutting through the tense silence. "The aliens are scared. They've never seen real war, and now they're facing extinction. They want us to save them." Colonel Jake Sullivan had returned from his reconnaissance mission with data that chilled everyone who saw it. "The HFY aren't just destroying worlds," he reported. "They're processing entire populations. Every living being becomes raw material for their war machine." Dr. Michelle Foster, Earth's leading weapons researcher, pulled up images from Sullivan's mission. "Look at these biomechanical components. They're using harvested organic matter to create thinking machines. Every person they capture makes them smarter and stronger." President John Adams sat at the head of the table, the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. "The Galactic Council has formally requested that we take command of all remaining military forces. They're offering us anything we want if we can stop this threat." Admiral Robert Kane, a veteran of the asteroid belt campaigns, leaned forward. "With respect, sir, anything we want might not be enough. The enemy has technology that's centuries ahead of ours. They've destroyed fleets that we couldn't scratch with our best weapons." Captain Brandon Scott, who had been leading rescue missions in the outer territories, spoke up. "Admiral, with respect, we might not have their technology, but we have something they don't understand." "Which is?" asked General Hayes. "Desperation, ma'am. Pure, ugly human desperation. The aliens fight to preserve their civilizations. We fight to survive." The room fell quiet as everyone considered his words. Finally, Admiral Lisa Rodriguez, participating via secure link from the fleet, spoke the words everyone was thinking. "We're going to have to become the monsters, aren't we?" Dr. Kevin Park, monitoring alien communications from his position at the Global Defense Network, had been listening to intercepted transmissions. "The surviving alien governments are confused by our initial requests. They don't understand why we need detailed population data, industrial capacity reports, and strategic resource locations." General Sandra Hill, commander of Earth's Special Operations Forces, smiled grimly. "They still think this is going to be a gentleman's war. They don't realize that when humanity fights for survival, there are no gentlemen." President Adams made the decision that would change human history. "General Hayes, you have overall command. Do whatever is necessary to stop the HFY. The only rule is that we survive." General Hayes nodded slowly. "Understood, sir. But the aliens aren't going to like what whatever is necessary means to us. The first sign of humanity's true nature came during the evacuation of Rex Prime. Ambassador Zelthar had expected the human rescue fleet to follow standard galactic protocols. Save the civilians first. Preserve cultural artifacts, minimize casualties. Instead, Captain Peter Gray arrived with a fleet of modified cargo ships and a set of orders that horrified the alien survivors. "We're taking your industrial equipment first," he announced. "Your weapons factories, your shipyards, your research facilities. The people come after we secure the assets we need to fight. But there are millions of civilians down there." Zelthar protested. Captain Gray's expression didn't change. "And there will be billions more dead if we don't get the tools we need to kill these things. You asked us to win this war. This is how wars are won." The evacuation proceeded with ruthless efficiency. Human soldiers moved through Vrex cities like they owned them, taking whatever they needed and leaving behind whatever they didn't. When Vrex officials protested, they were politely but firmly ignored. Dr. Susan Mitchell's research team had set up shop on a captured Kythera science station. The insectoid aliens watched in growing horror as humans dissected HFY technology with the same methodical approach they might use to study a virus. You're torturing captured HFY biomechanical units. clicked Hive Speaker Zixkull, his mandibles trembling with distress. Dr. Mitchell looked up from her work, her hands stained with strange fluids. We're learning how they think. Every component we take apart teaches us something new about their weaknesses, but the suffering is necessary, Mitchell finished coldly. These things wiped out 17 civilizations. If causing pain to their machines helps us stop them from causing pain to living beings, then that's a trade I'm willing to make. The aliens began to realize that humans didn't just fight wars, they studied them like a science. Every battle was analyzed, every enemy weakness cataloged, every tactical advantage exploited without mercy. Commander Angela Brooks led the newly formed Human Strategic Corps in operations that violated every galactic treaty on humane warfare. Her teams infiltrated Kethvar-controlled systems not to liberate them, but to plant weapons that would deny resources to the enemy. When the aquatic world of Deep Harbor fell to the Kethvar, Brooks's team didn't try to save it. Instead, they contaminated the entire ocean with an engineered virus that turned the water toxic. The Kethvar could harvest the dead world, but they couldn't use its most valuable resource. You poisoned an entire planet, accused a surviving depths dweller during a strategic briefing. Yes, Brooks replied without emotion. Now the Kethvar can't use it to water their bioships. Next question. The alien representatives in the Joint Command Center began to look at their human allies with the same fear they had once reserved for the Kethvar. These humans spoke casually of acceptable casualties, strategic sacrifices, and necessary evils. Captain Richard Stone commanded the first human ship to be fitted with reverse-engineered Kethvar weapons. The UES Nemesis was a hybrid vessel that looked almost organic, its hull pulsing with captured alien technology. It's disturbing, reported High Counselor Vexani after inspecting the ship. It feels wrong, like we're becoming like them. Stone's response chilled everyone present. Ma'am, if becoming like them is what it takes to stop them, then that's what we'll do. The only thing that matters is victory. The turning point came when Colonel Sullivan led a strike team deep into Kethvar territory to capture a command ship intact. The mission succeeded, but what they found inside the alien vessel broke something in the human psyche. The Kethvar weren't just using captured beings as raw materials. They were keeping some alive in constant agony, using their pain and fear to power their thought processes. Entire civilizations were being slowly consumed, their suffering converted into tactical intelligence. When Sullivan's report reached Earth, the last traces of human restraint disappeared. President Adams called General Hayes with a single order. No limits, no mercy. And this. The aliens watching human military briefings began to notice changes in their saviors. The humans spoke more quietly now, their voices flat and emotionless. They made decisions that would have taken alien councils days to debate in seconds. They calculated acceptable losses in millions without blinking. Dr. Foster's weapons research had produced horrors that the peaceful galactic species couldn't comprehend. Gravity bombs that compressed entire space stations into black holes. Viral weapons that turned enemy biotechnology against itself. Planet killers that could render entire worlds uninhabitable for centuries. These weapons, whispered Ambassador Zelthar during a classified briefing, they're designed to cause maximum suffering. No, corrected General Hayes, her voice colder than space itself. They're designed to cause maximum fear. The Kethvar need to learn that hunting us is more dangerous than leaving us alone. As human forces began to achieve their first real victories against the invaders, the surviving alien species made a terrifying discovery. They were no longer fighting alongside humanity. They were being protected by something that scared them almost as much as the enemy. The humans had awakened something dark within themselves, something that had been sleeping during their years of peaceful cooperation. Now it was loose among the stars, and even their allies weren't sure they could control it. The war was turning, but at a cost no one had anticipated. Humanity was becoming very good at winning, and that might be the most frightening thing of all. The combined galactic fleet gathered at Nexus Station, but it looked nothing like the peaceful assembly that had once welcomed humanity. Ships from dozens of worlds floated in formation, but now they followed orders from human commanders. The elegant alien vessels looked small and fragile next to the new human warships. Admiral Karen Foster stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the final preparations. Her ship was massive, bristling with weapons that hadn't existed 6 months ago. The hull was scarred from battles that had taught humanity hard lessons about fighting an enemy that didn't play by any rules. "Status report," she commanded. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Sullivan, now her tactical officer, reviewed the displays. "All fleets report ready, Admiral. We have approximately 8,000 ships under our direct command. And our new assets." Dr. Susan Mitchell stepped forward. Her research team had worked around the clock to create weapon systems that would have been unthinkable before the war. The viral weapons are loaded on all strike ships. The gravity bombs are ready for deployment, and the new directed evolution weapons. "Admiral, I need to stress that once we use these, there's no going back." Admiral Foster nodded grimly. "Doctor, after what we found on the harvester ships, I don't think going back is an option anymore." The directed evolution weapons were humanity's darkest creation. They could rewrite the genetic code of enemy biomechanical systems, causing them to evolve in ways that destroyed them from within. The Kethvar had used captured alien biology against the galaxy. Now humans would use the Kethvar's own biology against them. Captain Peter Gray commanded the 1st Human Strike Corps Squadron. His pilots were volunteers from Earth's Special Forces, soldiers who had seen enough horror to do what needed to be done without hesitation. Their ships were built for one purpose: getting close enough to Kethvar vessels to plant devastating weapons. "Remember," Gray told his pilots over the communication system, "we're not trying to win fair. We're trying to win permanently. Use every dirty trick you know, and invent some new ones." The aliens monitoring human communications began to notice disturbing changes in their language. Terms like acceptable casualties and strategic sacrifice became common. Humans calculated the value of entire star systems in terms of tactical advantage. High Counselor Vexani attended a strategic briefing and left shaken by what she heard. "They speak of destroying populated worlds as if they were discussing the weather," she reported to the few surviving alien leaders. "They have become something we don't recognize." The first major test of humanity's new approach came at the Battle of Helix Nebula. The Kethvar had established a massive staging area in the nebula's gas clouds, using the dense matter to build new ships and process captured populations. General Sandra Hill coordinated the assault from her command ship. She had learned warfare in the brutal campaigns of the outer colonies, where victory went to whoever was willing to pay the highest price. "All units, this is Control," she broadcast to the attacking fleet. "Primary objective is destruction of the staging facilities. Secondary objective is elimination of all Kethvar biomechanical systems. There are no tertiary objectives." The alien commanders understood what she meant. They weren't trying to capture anything. They weren't trying to save anyone. They were there to kill everything that moved and destroy everything that didn't. Commander Angela Brooks led her special operations team into the heart of the Kethvar complex. What they found there would have driven alien minds to madness, but human minds had already seen enough madness to develop immunity. Entire processing centers filled with the remains of harvested civilizations. Biomechanical systems that pulsed with the pain of a billion tortured beings. Command structures that used concentrated suffering as a power source. "Plant the charges," Brooks ordered her team. "Everything burns." Dr. Michelle Foster's gravity bombs detonated throughout the complex, creating localized black holes that consumed Kethvar ships, processing facilities, and anything else within range. The nebula itself began to collapse as space-time twisted under the assault. But it was the viral weapons that truly horrified the watching aliens. Released into the Kethvar biosystems, they spread like wildfire, causing enemy organisms to attack their own structures. Ships began consuming themselves from within. Command systems turned their weapons on their own fleets. "My God," whispered Ambassador Zelthar, watching the battle from a safe distance. "They're using the enemy's nature against itself. They're making them suffer as they made others suffer." Captain Richard Stone's hybrid ship, the Nemesis, proved most effective of all. Built with captured Kethvar technology, it could interface with enemy systems and corrupt them directly. Stone and his crew had learned to think like their enemies, to use alien logic as a weapon. "Target the command nexus," Stone ordered his weapons officer. "Send them the new virus package. Let's see how they like having their own thoughts turned against them." The virus was Dr. Foster's masterpiece, a digital plague that rewrote Kethvar command protocols, turning their strategic intelligence into strategic suicide. Ships began flying directly into stars. Entire fleets turned their weapons on civilian targets, destroying the very resources they had come to harvest. When the Battle of Helix Nebula ended, the Kethvar staging area was gone. Not captured, not disabled, but completely erased from existence. The nebula itself had been transformed into a graveyard, where gravity storms and viral infections would destroy anything that tried to enter. The victory celebration on human ships was subdued. Soldiers and spacers stood quietly, looking at what they had accomplished. They had won, but the cost was becoming clear. They were becoming very good at causing suffering, and some of them were starting to enjoy it. Captain Brandon Scott led the post-battle analysis team through the wreckage. What they learned changed everything about humanity's understanding of the enemy. The Kethvar weren't just random destroyers. They were part of something larger, something that had been moving between galaxies for millions of years. "Admiral," Scott reported to Foster, "the data we recovered suggests this is just one small part of a much bigger force. They've done this to hundreds of galaxies." Admiral Foster absorbed this information without changing expression. "Then we'll have to make sure our galaxy is the one that stops them." The alien observers realized that humans hadn't just adapted to fighting the Kethvar, they had evolved past them. Human tactical thinking now operated on levels that peaceful species couldn't understand. They planned battles like chess games, thinking dozens of moves ahead. Dr. Susan Mitchell's research team had reverse-engineered so much Kethvar technology that human ships were becoming unrecognizable. The new vessels looked organic, pulsed with alien energy, and used weapon systems that violated several laws of physics. "We're becoming like them," reported Dr. Kevin Park during a classified briefing to Earth's leadership. "Our ships think with captured alien minds. Our weapons use enemy biology against itself. Our tactical systems plan strategies that would be considered war crimes under galactic law." President John Adams listened to the report in silence. Finally, he spoke. "Doctor, are we winning?" "Yes, sir. Decisively." Then we continue. The remaining alien governments held a secret meeting to discuss their growing fear of their human protectors. Ambassador Zelthar spoke for many when he said, "We asked them to save us from monsters, they did. But now we have new monsters, and these ones are on our side. The Etherans, with their 1,000-year lifespans, could see patterns that shorter-lived species missed." "Humans learn from everything," High Counselor Vexani observed. "Every battle teaches them something new about causing death. Every victory makes them more efficient killers." The final engagement of the campaign came when human forces tracked down the last major Kethvar fleet. Instead of a pitched battle, the humans used a strategy that shocked even hardened alien military observers. They herded the enemy fleet into a carefully prepared trap, then released every horrific weapon they had developed. The Kethvar ships didn't just die. They were transformed into monuments to human tactical thinking. Their own biosystems turned against them. Their command structures collapsed into recursive loops of self-destruction, and their harvesting mechanisms began processing their own crews. When it was over, the galaxy was safer. The Kethvar threat had been neutralized so completely that it would never return. But the aliens looking at their human allies realized that something else had been lost forever. The peaceful, eager humans who had asked to join the galactic community were gone. In their place was a species that understood war better than anyone in the galaxy. They had weapons that could destroy civilizations, strategies that could break entire species, and the cold calculation to use both without hesitation. The war was ending, but the aliens were beginning to understand that the peace that followed would be whatever humanity decided it should be. The war room on Earth had grown quiet. For the first time in months, the displays showed no active Kethvar fleets, no burning worlds, no desperate evacuation calls. The red dots that had marked enemy positions across the galaxy had finally gone dark. Strategic Commander Laura Davis stood before the largest holographic display, studying the data that her intelligence teams had gathered. She was younger than most of the other commanders, but her mind worked differently. Where others saw individual battles, she saw patterns across space and time. "Operation Longbow is ready for final approval," she announced to the assembled command staff. "We've traced the Kethvar invasion route back to its source. They have a massive staging area in the space between galaxies, where they've been building their forces for centuries." President John Adams attended the briefing via secure link, his face haggard from months of making impossible decisions. "Commander Davis, explain your plan in simple terms." Laura's smile was cold and calculating. Instead of waiting for them to send more fleets, We're going to their home base and destroying their ability to make war forever. We'll use their own portal technology to get there, then deploy every weapon we've developed to ensure they never threaten anyone again. Admiral Karen Foster reviewed the tactical displays. The logistics alone are staggering. We're talking about moving our entire battle fleet across intergalactic space with no support, no fallback position, and no guarantee we can get home. That's correct, Admiral, Davis replied. If we fail, humanity dies with us. If we succeed, we end this threat permanently for every galaxy they might target in the future. General Patricia Hayes, now Supreme Military Commander of all human forces, made the decision. We do it, but we do it right. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier who can fight goes on this mission. Captain Richard Stone would lead the assault aboard the UES Nemesis, now the flagship of humanity's hybrid fleet. His ship had been rebuilt so many times with captured Kethvar technology that it barely looked human anymore. The hull pulsed with biomechanical systems, and the weapons were things that had never existed in any peaceful galaxy. Sir, Stone reported to the command staff, my ship can interface directly with their portal systems. We can not only get there, but we can control how they get anywhere else. Once we're in their space, we can trap them. Dr. Susan Mitchell's research team had spent weeks preparing humanity's final weapons. The directed evolution viruses had been refined to the point where they could rewrite the genetic code of entire species. The gravity weapons could now tear holes in space-time itself. And the newest creation, the reality distortion fields, could trap enemy fleets in recursive time loops. These weapons, Dr. Mitchell briefed the assault team leaders, are designed to ensure that even if some Kethavar survive, they'll never be able to organize another invasion. We're not just defeating them. We're removing them as a threat to anyone, anywhere, forever. The alien observers had been quietly excluded from the final planning sessions. They knew something was happening, but humanity had stopped sharing details of their strategic thinking. The surviving galactic governments watched nervously as human ships gathered in formations that looked more like hunting packs than military fleets. Ambassador Selthar met secretly with High Counselor Vexani and the few other alien leaders still alive. Have you seen the latest human ship designs? He asked. They don't look like anything from our galaxy anymore. Vexani's colors had been muted and gray for weeks, a sign of deep distress among her people. They're becoming something new. Something that frightens me more than the Kethvar ever did. The final assault began with Captain Peter Gray's reconnaissance squadron using captured portal technology to establish beachheads in Kethvar space. What they found confirmed humanity's darkest suspicions. The invasion of their galaxy had been just a tiny fraction of the enemy's total strength. Command, this is Gray, he reported from deep in enemy territory. The staging area it's the size of a solar system. There are millions of ships here, processing facilities that stretch across entire asteroid belts, and biomechanical systems that are using the remains of hundreds of galaxies. Stone's assault fleet emerged from the portals like a plague descending on the Kethvar stronghold. The hybrid ships immediately began interfacing with enemy systems, not to communicate but to corrupt them from within. Human cyber warfare specialists used Kethvar communication networks to spread viruses that turned their own technology against them. Commander Angela Brooks led boarding parties onto Kethvar command ships with orders that would have been unthinkable at the war's beginning. No prisoners, she told her teams. No mercy. Nothing survives to carry this knowledge to other galaxies. The battle raged across space and time as human forces used weapons that rewrote the laws of physics. Dr. Foster's gravity bombs created cascading black holes that consumed entire fleets. The evolution viruses spread through biomechanical systems like wildfire, causing Kethavar ships to literally digest themselves from within. But it was Stone's reality distortion weapons that proved most devastating. Entire sectors of the Kethvar staging area became trapped in time loops, repeating the same moments of destruction forever. Enemy reinforcements arrived to find themselves attacking the same targets again and again. Unable to break free from recursive patterns of failure. Target their central processing core, Stone ordered his weapons officer. Give them the full viral package. Let's see how they handle having every system they've ever built turned against them simultaneously. The final virus was humanity's masterpiece of warfare, a digital plague that didn't just corrupt HFY systems, but rewrote their basic programming to make them incapable of organized violence. Ships began dismantling themselves. Processing facilities turned their harvesting equipment on their own infrastructure. Command systems issued orders for complete self-destruction. When the battle ended, the space between galaxies was filled with debris that would serve as a warning to any other aggressive species. The HFY staging area had been transformed into a graveyard where corrupted technology would destroy anything that tried to salvage it. Captain Brandon Scott led the investigation teams through the wreckage, documenting everything for Earth's archives. What they found would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. The HFY had destroyed hundreds of galaxies over millions of years, consuming civilizations and using their remains to grow stronger. Admiral, Scott reported to Foster, we found their records. They've done this cycle for eons, moving from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything. We're not just the first species to stop them. We're the first to make sure they can never do it again. The return to the galaxy was triumphant, but the celebration was muted. Human forces had won the most complete victory in galactic history, but the cost was becoming clear. They had evolved into something that no longer fit in the peaceful community they had once wanted to join. The alien governments that had begged for human protection now met in secret to discuss their fears. Look at their victory reports, whispered Ambassador Zelthar. They're not celebrating saving lives. They're celebrating perfecting techniques for ending them. High Counselor Vexani studied the data from the final battle. Their weapons don't just kill enemies. They ensure those enemies can never exist again. They're thinking on scales of geological time, making certain that threats are eliminated permanently. Dr. Kevin Park briefed Earth's leadership on the post-war situation. Sir, the surviving alien governments are requesting significant territorial concessions. They want to give us entire sectors of space, advanced technology, and unrestricted colonization rights. President Adams, now looking much older than when the war began, understood the implications. They're not rewarding us for victory, are they? They're trying to keep us happy so we don't turn on them. General Hayes, reviewing human military capabilities, had reached the same conclusion. Mr. President, we now possess weapons that could eliminate any galactic civilization within days. Our strategic thinking operates on levels that peaceful species can't understand. We've become the dominant military force in the galaxy. The final scene played out in the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers. The surviving alien species gathered to formally acknowledge humanity's victory and discuss the post-war galactic order. But the atmosphere was very different from the hopeful meeting years ago. Admiral Foster attended as humanity's representative, flanked by officers whose uniforms bore the insignia of campaigns that had rewritten the rules of warfare. She spoke quietly, but everyone listened with the attention reserved for predators. The HFY threat has been permanently eliminated, she announced. Human forces will maintain strategic bases throughout the galaxy to ensure this level of threat never emerges again. We'll also be expanding our colonization efforts to ensure adequate resources for our growing space fleet. The aliens nodded agreement to everything she said. They had learned that arguing with humans was pointless. These beings thought in terms of total victory and acceptable casualties. Their definition of peace involved having enough weapons to destroy anyone who might threaten it. Ambassador Zelthar spoke for the surviving governments. Humanity has saved us all. We are grateful.